All right, so when it comes to describing a scatter plot, there are four things you should consider. And that is the form, the direction, the strength, and the outliers. So let's see what I mean. Let's go over what I mean by this. In terms of form, the choices are generally linear or nonlinear. And what I mean by linear is that it may not be perfect, but it's generally going to be, your data points will generally form a straight line. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but it looks like a line can go through your data points very nicely. Nonlinear graphs are going to be graphs where there appears to be a definite bend in the flow of your data points. So, like the one you see on the screen, the data points are going upwards and then they're going downwards. Now, if you have a linear graph, we can also talk about direction. And by direction, it just means, the flow as you look at it from left to right. So positive correlation is basically where the line is, your flow of dots are going upwards as you move left to right. So essentially both variables are increasing, decreasing at the same time. Negative correlation is as you move left to right, the lines are going downwards. So as one variable increases, the other will generally decrease. And then something that's considered to be no correlation is that it's not really clear what's happening. It's essentially a vague swarm of dots. And as for strength, the stronger the correlation or the stronger the pattern, the easier it is to see what's going on. So something that's strong is one that looks very much like a line, or it could be nonlinear, but it's a very clear pattern, very clear stream. Weak would be there's a vague cloud, no real pattern or trend. And you can also kind of add, moderate or weak, if things that are in between. And then outliers are where you have a pattern of dots, and then you have some dot some point that seems out of place. So these you need to be careful about, because outliers can offer valuable insight, but they can also completely distort your analysis. That is, without an outlier, you may get the opposite conclusion as if you had the outlier included. So fortunately, potential outliers can be easily identified. Often they're typos, though not always. Okay, so some examples. Here is one scatter plot comparing the husband's age with his wife's age. And I want to describe the form, direction, strength, and any unusual features. So looking at it, it looks pretty much linear. Direction, it's going upwards, so older husbands tend to have older wives. As far as strength, it's a very clear pattern, so strong seems good. And there's no real outliers. And there is one point, maybe like right about here. That's not really an outlier. It's not going to have any real impact on your analysis. So there's no apparent outliers. Here's another one, comparing the average time spent watching television in a week to the size of the television. Well, looking at this, no real form, no real direction, no apparent outliers. I mean, it's just a vague dots. So nothing's really can be said about that. And one more. Each of the 2025 elementary schools in Ohio are plotted below, comparing the passing rates of the state's fourth grade reading proficiency test with the school's poverty level. So essentially my horizontal axis is percent of students eligible for free reduced price lunches. So the schools that are over here on the right are essentially high poverty level. The schools here on the left are essentially low poverty level. The higher it is, also the more students are passing. So students that are way up high are schools that have a high percentage of students passing. Schools down here are schools that have a very low passing rate. So looking at this, it looks linear. I mean, there's no bend in the data. It looks like a line. Whoa, Oh. It has a negative direction. Strong correlation. Well, you can argue moderate correlation. I would say strong in just that with 2,000 points, the fact you can see anything, you see any kind of pattern, is um, pretty much strong. But if you said moderate, that's fine. And possibly an outlier right here in the upper right. It'd be something this be a school that has a high poverty rate, but also a very high passing rate. So that'd be a school I'd be interested in seeing what's going on.